Hey guys, what's up? Emo Cat Dad here, hanging out with you, bringing you yet another edition of Emo Cat Dad Listens. If you're new here, then first off, thanks so much for stopping by. What it is I do here is every day of 2024, I vow check out a new band or artist. Check out 4 songs from across their discography, give you my initial thoughts on those songs, give you my ranking of the songs, and then of course close it all out by giving you my overall thoughts on the artist based on what I just heard. And today is a very special night. It is Ladies' Night. Basically, I, your friendly neighborhood Emo Cat Dad, grew up going to Warped Tour. I'm currently rocking my Warped Tour 2013 t-shirt. That's right, this shirt's over 10 years old. But for all the good it gave me, it wasn't terribly inclusive. So that's why when I started doing this, I vowed that every Sunday night would be Ladies' Night, where I check out either a female artist or a band with female members. And that's exactly what today's band is. It's Cliffdiver. So what is my experience with Cliffdiver? I had never actually checked them out. I remember, I think it must have been close to a year ago at this point, or maybe just over a year, that they were in a serious van accident. I don't want to go into all the details because I have a weak stomach and I might get a little queasy, but they went through some difficulties going to play a show. Member ended up in the hospital. You can read up all about it on the interwebs. But I remember hearing that and being like, oh my god, that's so sad. Like, I hope they pull through. And clearly they did, because next month I will have the opportunity to check this band out at 4Chord Music Fest. So I'm looking forward to that show, but because I'm going to 4Chord, I figure I should probably start checking out some of these bands I don't know. I did Koyo earlier this week, so go back and check that out if you haven't already. But today on Ladies' Night, we're diving in off a cliff with Cliffdiver. Alright, so Cliffdiver has released 2 EPs and a full-length album. So we're going to start with their oldest EP, and I checked out the track You, Sir, Are Obviously Not a Golfer.
I'm not scared of dying. Just scared of...
Now, if I actually had some editing skills, I would have put in the Big Lebowski quote. I'm not going to do that, but I will talk about this track at the very least. So, Cliffdiver, I had seen that they were like a large band. They had like 7 or 8 members based on their like picture on Spotify. So I had figured it would be kind of ska-y, and it kind of is. We do get a saxophone throughout, and those that have watched me before knows I'm a big sax supporter, so more sax, please. But this is very emo. I did not expect that sound. The lyrics are pretty basic, especially for an emo song. But that being said, this was their debut EP. I'm not going to hold it against them too much. But I will say the vocals were actually really strong for a debut EP. So I guess that kind of evens it out. Alright, so they followed up that EP with another EP called At Your Own Risk. And I checked out the track Lost in IKEA.
So let me try and say I'm sorry for the last 2 years when I was drinking.
So I have a lot of experience with IKEA. It's like my wife's favorite store. However, I've never been lost in there, though I completely understand how people do. And if you thought this intro talking about IKEA was long, well, don't listen to the intro of the song, because it goes on too long. Musically, the song is super interesting to listen to, though. The verses are like in the style of angry pop punk. The vocals aren't, to be clear. It's still the same, like, emo-tinged vocals, like the Menzinger style or Spanish love songs. But the chorus is that super poppy, bouncy, emo style, like an arm's length. The lyrics here have definitely improved, and at this point, I'm all in on this band. Very interested to see what these next 2 songs sound like. Alright, we knocked the EPs out of the way. Their debut full-length album came out in 2022 called Exercise Your Demons. I checked out track 1 from that album, New Vegas Bomb.
We won't waste time, we're second guessing when we're...
Okay, so there's more punk rock on this track than on the previous 2. So I guess Cliffdiver, I'm just going to have to learn to expect the unexpected, because this band's all over the place, but in the best way. There's lots of ska influence on this track as well, which isn't terribly surprising since there's a Ska Tune Network feature. Ska Tune is strong across the board, whether it's musically or vocally. They do both great. I'm a big Ska Tune fan. always entertaining, and on this track, it's no different. Alright, finally for my fourth track. Cliffdiver has released a handful of singles as of late, the most recent being F.A.K.E, but it's an acronym. I don't know what the acronym stands for, but hopefully the song will tell us. Okay, so after listening to this 2-minute upbeat pop punk banger of a track, I still don't know what the acronym means. So people in the comments, if you know, let me know. Thanks. I'd appreciate it. But the highlight here is this is the first track that the female member of this band, Brianna, gets to do the chorus, and honestly, it sounds so great. This might even be my favorite chorus. Alright, so those were 4 Cliffdiver tracks I checked out. Let's go ahead and rank them. At number 1, I'm going to give it to F.A.K.E. And just all around, had a blast with this. I like the 2 vocal styles going back and forth between Brianna and the regular singer Joey, I think is his name. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments. I grew up listening to a lot of dueling vocal styles, and this just works extremely well for me, which is why it gets number 1. Speaking of dueling vocals, at number 2 is New Vegas Bomb. There's not as much dueling vocals in this, the Ska 2 Network feature, but their presence is felt obviously throughout the whole song. I grew up listening to punk rock, so the punk rock of this all does take me back to a place where I was first, listening to bands like MXPX and Anti-Flag and No Use for a Name. And of course, since we're talking about ska, Less Than Jake. At 3, You Sir are obviously not a golfer. I would say this is the most basic song if this was a straight up emo band, but they're not. Maybe they were during this first EP cycle, but they've evolved past that. But given all the different sounds on here, I did just enjoy the warm embrace of a nice little tidy emo song. It felt nice. At 4, Lost at IKEA. Honestly, it's probably just the longer intro that puts it here, because I did really like this song. If you cut off those first 35 seconds, then maybe this isn't finishing in 4th. It's finishing higher up. But ultimately, I still did really dig this song, and I love when I could say that about the track that I'm ranking 4th. Alright, so those were the tracks I listened to. What are my overall thoughts on Cliffdiver? This band seems like so much fun just based on these songs. I'm really hopeful that we get a full-length album this year. Obviously, the last one was 2022. They do seem to have some tour dates this summer coming up, but I don't really know what they're up to right now. So hopefully they're recording that album to get it out either end of this year or first thing next year is fine too. I'm not going to push it. But I'm also very excited to see them live next month at 4 Chord Fest. It's going to be a blast. I'm going to hear those sweet saxophone tones and those sweet synth tones that we heard on some of these later tracks. And it's going to be just a blast there, hanging out with my wife, enjoying some rad music. Alright guys, thank you so much for hanging out with me. I'm your friendly neighborhood Emo Cat Dad. I appreciate you making it to the very end of this video. Please, if you haven't left yet, which you haven't because you heard me saying this, go into the comments below, leave me your suggestions on bands or artists I absolutely need to get to. I'm going heavy on the 4 chord stuff for the next week or 2, but I'm not going to be doing exclusively that. And of course, there's lots of other weeks after that I will still need content for. So please leave those suggestions below. And while you're down there, give me your thoughts on Cliffdiver if you've checked them out. If you haven't checked them out, are you going to check them out? Or just let me know your favorite ska or punk rock bands. What band got you into that genre? I'd love to hear from you, especially with those suggestions, so that you can come on back and see when I do your suggestion. And the best way to do that is if you simply cut my wrist and hit subscribe. Emo Cat Dad signing off for now, but until tomorrow, I want to hear you sad.